Hi, I'm Jason Leahy, Executive Director of the Illinois Principals Association. Thank you for joining me for this IPA talk, and with me I've got some outstanding individuals here who are Teach Plus Fellows. We're going to dig into what that is, but before we get into that and some of the things we're going to be discussing regarding research that Teach Plus has been doing with teachers, with the shortage, with teachers of color, all of that, I want to give these folks an opportunity to introduce themselves. So Corey, if we start with you, and then we'll just go on down the line and be sure to tell us your name and where you're from, what you do, all of that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so my name is Corey Winchester. I use he, him as pronouns. I'm a history and sociology teacher at Evanston Township High School. I do a lot of work with our induction program, and I also am the staff coordinator for a student organization called SOAR, Students Organized Against Racism.
Awesome. Thank you. Violet?
My name is Violeta Cerna-Prado.
Oh, thank you for correcting me with that. That's wonderful.
She, hers, her. And I am a multicultural studies teacher in Chicago, born and raised in Pilsen of Chicago, so very proud of that. Freshman teacher.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Hi, I am Keisha Rembert. I am a former veteran middle school teacher and now an assistant professor of teacher preparation and live in Plainfield, Illinois, and taught in that area for a number of years.
Wonderful. Now, I think it's important before we move on for Corey and for Keisha, each of you are recently award-winning educators. So Keisha, can we talk with you first, and then we'll come back to Corey.
So this year I was honored and privileged to be able to be named the 2019 Illinois History Teacher of the Year and also the National Council for Teachers of English Outstanding Middle Level Educator.
That's terrific. Wonderful. So both history and English.
Yes, I feel like Deion Sanders.
Double duty, right? Yes. So tell us about yourself and recent recognition.
Yeah, so I've also been humbly awarded a Golden Apple Award this past March, and that was a true honor.
Yeah, Golden Apple, wonderful organization, one that we've done some work with ourselves, and that's both of you. That's something definitely to be very proud of.
And there's a connection with Golden Apple and the work that we're about to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll be sure to draw that out as well. So each of you here are Teach Plus Fellows, and very interested, I guess, first in just giving an explanation of what Teach Plus is as an organization and what you have been doing as fellows of Teach Plus. So.
Sure, I can take that. Teach Plus is an organization started to give teachers voice in policy and advocacy work in states. I believe there are 7 different states that have Teach Plus fellowships, and through those fellowships, teachers learn to exercise their voice in areas that are important to them, using policy as a vehicle with which to do it.
So how long have each of you been engaged then with the organization?
So it is a year-long process. Okay. So we are alum now. And although we wish we could have taken it another pass at it, but once part of the organization, always part of the organization, and love that we can continue to exercise our voice on behalf of teachers in the state of Illinois.
Sure. So let's dig into, I know an issue that's really important to all of us here is dealing with the teacher shortage. It's something I was explaining off camera. It's something we've been talking about for a long time, and I know it's something our regional superintendents of schools have really dug into and been studying statewide. But I know with the work here with Teach Plus and that each of you have been engaged with is digging with a focus on teachers of color and what's going on related to that. And I know Teach Plus just recently put out a study. In fact, we pushed it out today, as this is a Friday, so that we're making this recording, and it's something that we pushed out today to the membership just so that they're aware of some of the unique challenges that teachers of color face in the profession. So I'm just going to pitch it out there for any of you to grab a hold of and just talk a little bit about the work, the research, and we'll go from there. So anybody want to get us started with that?
Yeah, so I'll start.
They're looking at you, Corey. So I'm looking at you, man. That's right.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll draw some connections to the organization and how we actually got involved in the fellowship.
Yeah.
So there's an application process, and a fellow class cohort is selected in June And our work starts in August and continues through the end of the
So for each of you,
year.
that would have started then in 2018 then?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So when we had our first meeting together in Joliet, we started to identify different areas that we wanted to focus on. And all of us chose to work in the recruitment and retention of teachers of color. And also alongside that, there was another work group that was interested in looking at the teacher shortage. And, these two areas really do work in tandem with each other. And I actually think if you focus on the recruitment and retention of teachers of color, you're ultimately going to be addressing the teacher shortage as well. Because I think a lot of the issues that we face as educators are exacerbated, and once addressed will actually work for the benefit of all the educators that we're seeking to serve, especially as it relates to the work that we do with students in the classroom each and every day.
So as an organization, as we think about, building up the pipeline of individuals, when you think about the work that you've done here and talking within these focus groups and other educators of color, what do you think is going to be most critical for us? We've talked a little bit about some things that we can do to help keep teachers maybe in those seats, but what do we need to be doing now to help? Because we got a ways to go. I mean, if we've got over 50% of our kids that are minority kids, kids of color, but then we've only got 15% or less than that, based on what you shared earlier, Keisha, that are teachers of color, we got a long way to go here. So what can we be doing to be encouraging young people to be entering into the profession?
I can start. So I really do think that they go hand in hand. So if we are able to work on retention, I really think that the narrative about teaching can be flipped. So right now, teaching is looked at as like, oh my God, you're tired all the time dealing with 150 kids that aren't yours, long hours. Like, yeah, you get your summers off, but do you really have your summers off when you're planning, right? And so I think that when we're able to retain teachers, the narrative will automatically change, and that will bring more people into the profession. When we're able to adequately advocate for our profession, and the need that we have behind it for teachers of color, they're gonna wanna come in, right? So we do have to deal with like the microaggressions that are in our school buildings, because right now that's one of the things that's keeping teachers away, and then that's why we're losing teachers. And then you leave the profession and have these like horrible stories, which are keeping people from actually wanting to come into the profession. That's just one of my takes. I don't know.
It's interesting to me as you're reflecting here and sharing that, it makes me think of the challenges we're having in school leadership, not only with working to, diversify our educators and making sure that we're serving our diverse population of students, but we're struggling with retention of school leaders. In general, and attracting people into the profession, and we just have a lot of hard work here to do across the board. What I'm interested in is this: if you three here sitting could just have one thing that you could share with maybe your current building principal, or if you don't want to make it that personal, particularly for those of you still sitting in those classrooms, or just principals in general, what would it be when you think about supporting, either our current teachers of color or attracting future teachers of color into the profession? We shared a little bit, but I'm just curious, like when you think about it, real right here, close to the heart, what's most critical? Corey, I'm going to put you on the spot.
So, I know. I actually will speak to my principal, who is a black male. He's a black man. And I don't know how normal that is in Illinois to have your principal be a black male. One of the things that I know my principal is doing is that he's had lived experiences similar to mine. I think he knows what it's it's like to be a person of color in the United States, with all the different systems that tell you that you're not going to be successful, that you're not supposed to be here. And I think his presence, not to say in and of itself, but that's a form of resistance against the system. So we need to see more of that. And then we also need to continue pushing. In my district, we actually, I think, have a level of consciousness where, our findings and recommendations are being heard. So I think I'm in a bit of an anomaly when it comes to the work and what my school, what my district is the school, and vice versa, is able to do. So I'd be interested to hear more so what the two of you have to say as it relates to your lived experience. But then I also have something that I can share more generally. But
You want me to go?
Yep.
Okay. I would probably say acknowledge the teachers that you have and give them space to grow. I know that was something else that was a recurrent theme, that teachers of color especially, didn't have the opportunity to grow. And so make space, make room. Let me have a seat at the table. And then value what I say when I'm at the table. There were so many times where I felt like I would say something and then someone else would say it 2 words differently, and it would be received. And we know that research says that when you have people of color that come to the table, innovation increases and collaboration increases. And so really seek to value the people that you have and that are in front of you. And I think the other things will take care of themselves. Because then I will go and tell the world, you need to be teaching here. I'm having a great experience here. And so, and who better to do that for you?
Yeah. So I don't know if I want to talk specifically to my principals that I've had throughout the last 5 years, but also just like the environments that I've been in, which principals actually could be responsible for that. But I think that it's really important for, honestly, like white people with more power, to be willing to give some of that power away and to step down. Because times when I've felt little and when I've felt like my voice wasn't heard are moments when others took my power, took my words, or took my actions and made it their own. And I hear so many people, even in my current workplace, talk about how they want to go into leadership, but leadership already looks like them. And it would be mind-blowing and world-changing if they realize what leadership doesn't look like but should look like, and gave that space to those who want it. Because I'll tell you, I'm one of those people who really does want to step up and dismantle things from the top down. But yeah, other people have to be willing to give some of that power away.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, like acknowledging that, like, first of all, power isn't something that is limited in quality. If we keep working to increase our collective power, we're only going to do greater things. The collaboration is going to increase. Our interactions, our understanding of one another is going to increase when we realize that power is not fixed. And I think our current political system in the United States is struggling with that. And not to get on that conversation, but that plays out. Sure. With different educational spaces. So really working on that, I think, is important, and it can give the agency and the space for us to start humanizing each other in ways that we have not. And some of the recommendations that we have for principals, really get at that. What's the work? And one of them is about professional development work. How are you investing? How are you centering this? As something that you care about. Something that you realize is connected, even if you are in rural Illinois and you have no students of color. What's the connection that your kids, may see or may have when they go out into the world and engage with folks that are very different from them? We're all connected.
Absolutely. Well, and I think for us organizationally, we're not only dealing here, with teachers of color in terms of that power conversation, but also women in leadership as well. And it's something that we're trying to flesh out what that means for us, even organizationally, and how we make sure that we're being supportive in the ways that we need to be. And individuals that look like me, that's a bit of a challenge, because I've had those conversations with those individuals about that. And it's something that I have to, when I'm running in the morning and I'm on my treadmill for a few hours, it's definitely something that I'm spending some time with. I mean, no kidding, in terms of the books that I'm reading or listening to and all of that stuff. Thank you for taking some time to watch this important edition of IPA Talk, because we had such a terrific conversation, so much fun with one another. We've had to split this IPA Talk into 2 parts so that it was more consumable for you and works within your day. Thank you for taking time to watch part 1, and to watch part 2, please be sure to hit the link here on the screen and it will take you right there. Thanks.